up the phonograph.
So, Tich, from 1988 to about 91, right? You are not only training, but you're becoming one of the household names in Zimbabwe, right? You're doing 12 to 3, which is like a prime slot. It's just one of the greatest radio stations in
Southern Africa.
In Southern Africa. But you get an interesting call whilst you're on the radio from Tapelo Tipe.
Interesting story. I had a friend of mine called Joe. He's late. Really good guy. Joe was quick. If Joe had been alive today, he'd be the president of the country. He was that quick. Joe took one of my cassettes to Botswana. Then, at the time, South Africa was still under apartheid, so they had homelands. But Botswana was a homeland. So he went to Botswana, took my cassette to the radio station in Botswana, took another copy to Botswana. He then calls me and he says, dude, you need to come to Botswana. There's a station that's interested in you in Botswana. So I said, cool, no problem. The same week, I'm on radio. And then somebody calls me, and I think this is a fan. Says, hello? Say,
And
hi.
you answered live on the air?
No, lucky enough, I answered before I could patch the call onto the desk. Says, hello, my name is Tapelo Tipe. I said, hello, how are you? What song would you like for me to play for you? Who do you want to say hello to? He says, no, I am calling from a radio station called Radio BOP. I said, oh, okay, where are you? Radio BOP is in South Africa, but we are from a place called Botswana. I'd like to invite you to come and see the station, meet with us. We like what you're doing. I've listened to your cassette, and I think we could work together. So I'm thinking, really? Say, no, dude. Are you sure? Right, give me your number. So he gives me his number. The next day I call, and it's answered at Radio BOP. So I call Joe, and I say, Joe, how did these people get my cassette? He says, then he tells me the story. Then he says, why don't you do this? Come to Botswana. I say, cool.
Then cross over into
Botswana. So I go into Botswana. I meet the guys at the radio station in Botswana.
Which radio station is this?
It was RB1.
RB1.
Yes. And then I go over into Botswana so I could compare the two. I get to Botswana and I'm amazed.
It's nothing you've ever seen.
It's nothing I've ever seen, dude.
Nothing you've ever heard. Botswana, Radio BOP, similar to Radio 3.
For the South African setting.
Right.
Also on medium wave. Also with an ability to go into all these other places, including the surrounding countries.
Now, Radio BOP, people call it a radio that had a mind of its own.
Exactly.
It was the personification of black excellence in media. It produced some...
During apartheid, mind you.
Yes, sir. This is during apartheid, at the time when black people in South Africa did not have media where they could see themselves. That reflected their experiences, and that also reflected, that also not only reflected their experiences, but also that gave them something to aspire to.
Aspiration.
It was
black aspiration.
Aspirational. Radio BOP is arguably, along with Radio 3, one of those anchor media.
And I got to tell you, I'm privileged, and I thank God I had an opportunity to do what I did with Radio 3, and also do what I did with Radio BOP.
Now hold up, Tich. Before you get too excited, right? You get to Radio BOP, you are amazed. What amazes you at Radio BOP?
The institutionalization of broadcasting.
Right.
They were starting to go digital. This is in the early 90s, dude. Do you know what I mean? They had the latest equipment. They are awash with money. You know, when you got to the reception,
you could feel.
You could feel with this thing. This thing.
No,
They're not dancing. I was but they're not dancing. Huh? So I went and I met with these people. And this is an interesting story. So I'd come from Radio 3. I think at the time I was earning maybe 1,000, 1,200, which wasn't bad. Because ZBC was one of the highest paying institutions in the country. And at the time I was a young man. So with 1,200 Zim dollars, I could afford to pay 200 for my flat, for a nice place,
get a ride,
get a ride.
Do
you know what I mean? Look good, and I had a lot of other little things I was doing. Yeah. So we negotiate. So Tapelo then says, "We really like you. One of our superstars has just left. Bob Mabena had just crossed over to go and work for Metro.
Radio Metro.
Radio Metro.
Yeah.
And they really needed somebody to do their drive show, right? And remember, Bob Mabena was the epitome. He was the superstar.
Bob is...
He was the James Bond.
Let me tell you this amazing experience about Bob.
Yeah.
3 years ago, I visit Kai FM. Yes. I'm looking at South Africa. I need to visit one radio station, and I choose Kai FM because I'm just drawn to them. The organization, how they do things, they're fantastic. And I get to Kai FM. I meet up with Neil Johnson. Neil Johnson draws up my schedule, and he tells me that I'm going to be shadowing every show from my call time was 5 in the morning, and I was going to be leaving the station at like 8 in the evening. That's how extensive it was. So 5 in the morning, I get to the radio station the first day. In fact, I was late. I was there at 5:15. Guess who's already there at the time? Bob Mabena is already there. He's gone through all the newspapers and he's drinking his coffee.
The jammer.
He's already had his smoke. He's ready for us. Like, okay, who's this dude? Right? We get into the pre-production meeting at about 5:30. He's in there.
He just
carries
flowing
the same energy. And I
today.
He carries the same energy from like 5:30, from like 5 in the morning. Maybe I think he was staying in Pretoria at the time. So which means he left home at like 4, right? Or something like that, something crazy like that. Then here's the interesting thing. I had never felt wowed by a person doing radio until I heard Bob Mabena do his first link. I have never been moved by it. It's like, whoa,
what was that?
Who's this dude? And I totally get
why Bob Mabena is Bob Mabena.
Like, why he's Bob Mabena. I was like, whoa, who's this? And you can tell he's cut from a different cloth.
Absolutely. Bob Mabena got into it when it was difficult. Huh? Bob Mabena became Bob Mabena when things weren't working for a lot of Africans, you know. So Bob Mabena really is one of the greatest, without a shadow of a doubt. In Africa, Bob Mabena is a living legend. Salute you, Bob.
Salute to Bob.
Yeah.
So you're saying you're negotiating, you're on the negotiation table.
So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, if I was getting 1,200 in Zimbabwe, how much shall I ask for? So, a slip of a tongue. I'm speaking with Tapelo Tipe, then I say, listen, if I could get maybe 5 or 6, what I wanted to say was 500 or 600 more, that'd be okay. So he says, 5,000 or 6,000 rand. I said, maybe a little more. He says, okay, maybe 7,000, 8,000. Okay, can we do 8,000? Rands.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, did he just say 8,000, right? Do you know what I did? I waited until month end, just in case it made a mistake. Went into the hole by the wall, put in my card, punched in, and there was 8,000 rand in my account.
Wait, Tich, you better come back. You agree on the spot that you were gonna join Radio Bob.
Yes.
At the time.
At the time.
Right? Did you come back home?
Yes, I did. He said to me, okay, what would you like to do? I said, listen, I need to go back home, let everybody know that I'm leaving, okay? So he says, okay, cool, let's sign a contract. We'll take a few of your shots, etc. Let's now establish you as the new voice for the Drive Time show on Radio BOP. Give it a couple of weeks, go back home and say goodbye, but be back by the 1st of the next month. And that's how I joined Radio BOP.
Now, Radio BOP has produced some of the most amazing names in broadcasting. Tich Mataz,
oh man,
Bob
Brad Team,
Mabena,
yeah. George Manyosi, the late Aldrin Mahotsi,
right,
who later on got married to Zinzi Mandela,
right,
good friend of mine. A man who's still kicking it today, Glenn Lewis.
Glenn Lewis. Oh, Glenn, man.
Yeah. Did we mention Ben Dikobe?
No, not yet. But you just did.
Yeah. Zandi Lenzalo.
Zandi Lenzalo, yes. Who later go on to marry Bob Mabena.
Yes.
Yes.
Notemba Madumo.
Oh man, who you would later work with
in South Africa in the future.
In the future. Great cast.
Great cast. Great superstars, man.
Superstars.
Legends.
What made Radio BOP such an amazing institution?
Similar story to WBLS. Similar story to Radio 3. These guys were bringing closer to the people South African superstars and other African superstars, international superstars. We had instances where Radio BOP got international stars to come for events, to come and do stuff on radio. Do you know what I mean? Never done before. You had your Brenda Fasses who would come on a regular basis to do interviews at Radio BOP because they were not as embraced on the other predominantly white stations in South Africa. Mm-hmm. So as we mentioned, they carried the people's hopes and dreams and aspirations.
What was the sound of Radio BOP? What kind of music was Radio BOP playing?
Urban soul.
Urban soul.
Yeah, touch of hip hop. George Manyosi used to be crazy for hip hop. Good man. When your Snoop Dogg's came out, you know, we were possibly the first to play that kind of music. Your Dr. Dre's, you know, as urban radio stations, and even the sound of house music, South African house music as we know it today. It started off on Radio BOP, on the party shows on Radio BOP.
Right.
Yeah.
And how did people embrace you as a foreigner? Because there are a lot of layers to that, to you moving to South Africa. Because at the time, South Africa, apartheid is about to, its grip on the people is loosening,
yes.
And there's now a definite picture of freedom. It's close by. So South Africa, that's where it is. But also at the same time, you're a foreigner coming in to get a gig in South Africa. How do they embrace it?
I want to speak into that because that's one of the greatest cancers that Africa faces. Africa, when God created it, had no borders. And Ubuntu speaks into going beyond people's languages, people's nationalities, borders. And if Africa wants to be the last frontier, Africa needs to embrace Africa. We're all brothers. We came from the same vine tree. You can't say that the fruit that is on the left is different from the fruit that is on the right. It all comes from the same fruit. It was a shock for a lot of people. I was quick to learn languages and culture, and because my stage name, my radio name was Tich Mataz, people embraced me. And to some point, I became part of the South African society. I was a young man. I was very naive, still green. I did not notice what that meant for other locals and that kind of thing. And to an extent, there are things that I took for granted, which I shouldn't have.
Like what?
Just the politics of the day, the relationships that I had created, the pace at which I was moving quite rapid, quite fast. Made a lot of money as a young man. It was good for me. It may not have been good for others, because one of the things that the South African society fought for was access. Being me, I fought for a lot of access, and thank God, I was granted access, and I did some incredible things.
Tich, before you move to a whole lot of that, take me back to Radio BOP.
Yes.
Interacting with, let me channel my inner South African. Abo Glenn Lewis, Abo Glenn Lewis, and a lot of those amazing people at Radio BOP, right? How did they embrace you as a broadcaster? And in terms of skill, were you too far behind? Because Radio BOP was also moving at that level.
Radio BOP was moving rapidly forward. And having interacted with some of the managers and directors there, they had a vision for Africa. Some of the things that later on happened on SABC and that kind of thing came from the minds of those who were part and parcel of Radio BOP. I want to say that with the Radio BOP, I became a family member. Within the broadcasting institutions and within the broadcasting industry, I have many brothers, I have many sisters. I'm a member of that family. Because we grew up together, man. I mean, we were kids.
All of you guys
we were kids at the time.
Who were some of your closest friends?
All of them. I mean, I had a great... Glenn Lewis still calls me till today, you know what I mean? And these are people that saw me as a member of the family. I also then interacted with other different tiers, different levels of broadcasters. One of them, Mo G, who became a family member for me.
No, you're moving too fast. You're moving too fast.
I'll slow down.
Relax. This is 91, bro.
Okay, this is 91.
We're still in 91, Tich. Come on. Tich, you get the gig at Radio BOP, right? And you head back home to tell everyone that, I'm leaving. This is going to be, I'm no longer going to be here. Last show. The works, man. But there's also someone you needed to explain to that you had gotten a gig and you'd signed a contract and were moving to South Africa at the time. Someone was very close to you, right? The mother of your children.
Yes.
Penny.
Yes.
What was the conversation like, and why in the world did you marry so early? For a young man who was in the entertainment space, and what happened?
Culturally, a lot was happening. I mentioned the fact that stars were being born. Stars were emanating from sporting industry, broadcasting industry, radio, television. And at the time, AIDS was a serious scourge. I saw friends of mine literally dissipate, I just say, DJ Ninga, they died. Do you know what I mean? Then I realized, gotta play close to home. Gotta play close to home.
Close to home.
Otherwise, I will not make it. So I married early.
How did you meet Penny?
Through a couple of friends. Even Alex was Alex.
No, Tich. I'm not going to allow you to do this. I'm not going to allow you to be politically correct. This is not a rally. Okay? How did you meet Penny?
We met at a function. We exchanged telephone numbers, not cell numbers. At the time, quoting a woman Took months. I like you guys. I mean, it's a matter of, hey, what's your name? Do you want to hang?
No.
Do you want to kick it?
What's your
And
handle?
it's done.
No. I have to school you, Tich. The handle is key.
What's your handle?
What's your handle?
Yeah. What's your hashtag?
No. I don't even need your number. Can I get your handle?
Can I get your handle first?
The handle.
And the deal is sealed. So I went out with Penny. We're young people. We really got close. We're happy together. God blessed us with 2 kids. Tinevimbo, who's my oldest daughter, and Tinotenda, my son after that. And I came back and I said to her, hey, guess what? Just got a gig in South Africa. Shall we go try it? I said, cool.
Start up the phonograph.